So for some 35 years or so now, I've been preaching, teaching, espousing the idea of investment real estate. I've rolled it out in my seminars, I've written it up in my e-newsletter, and you're watching on these weekly videos. I'm a big believer in investment real estate, and over those same 35 years, I've seen numbers of people that got on board and invested in real estate and started to acquire an investment portfolio. The plan is simple: buy one property a year for 10 years, never amortize for more than 15 years, and never sell. But at the same time, I've seen an awful lot of people fall off the rails. And where they fall off the rails isn't acquisition. Where they fall off the rails is because they sell. They don't follow rule number 3, never sell. Why does that happen? Why do people sell? Well, let me explain that one of the things that's happened lately is property has gone up in value. Now, we've had a turbulent time in the last year or so, but the truth of the matter is, even now, property in Niagara has more than doubled in the last 7 years. So the acquisition cost, if you've owned your property for any length of time, is much, much lower than its current market value. At the same time, the mortgage has been paid down because you've been aggressive in your amortization period, and so between the amount you owe and the value of the property, you've got a lot of equity tied up in that property. And then along comes a bad tenant. And I've talked to you many times about screening tenants, and you need to do the best you can to screen tenants, but all of us at one time or another make a mistake and a bad tenant slips in. And it's just like having a toothache. If you got a toothache, all the other teeth in your mouth are happy and fine, but you don't think about them. You don't think about the fact that your feet are comfortable and your arms are comfortable and your mind's working well. All you think about is that problem with that pain in your tooth, and you want to make the pain go away. So what you maybe do is go to a dentist and have him yank the tooth out. Well, he does that, the pain stops. You've solved the problem. Of course, now you've got a gap where you used to have a tooth. You can't chew as effectively on that side, but hey, the pain goes away. And you do the same thing in real estate. You say, you know what, I just can't stand it with that problem tenant. I've got to do something about it. And so you end up selling the property. And when you sell the property, that problem goes away. And as an added bonus, you've got a large amount of money that you didn't have before in your back pocket. The problem is, for most of us, if we don't invest it wisely somewhere else, and the best way to invest it is in real estate, we spend it. Now the problem is gone, sure, but so's the property, and so's the potential for revenue, and all we've got left is a story to tell. And how many times I've been with one of my agents in the car because they've often invested in real estate, or a friend, and we're driving along, and we'll go by a particular property, and the person will point out the window in the car and say, see that property? I used to own that property. Worst mistake I ever made was to sell that property. So they don't have the property, they don't have the income, but they've got a story to tell. And right now we're kind of have all the elements of a perfect storm for this happening. Why do I say that? Well, as I've already mentioned, property values have gone up a lot in the last few years. If you've owned your property for any amount of time, you've got a lot of equity in that property between its value going up and the mortgage being reduced. At the same time, we've seen high inflation over the last few years, and the cost of acquiring anything. Go to the grocery store and you're going to pay a lot more for groceries. Fill your car up with gas, you're going to pay a lot more for gas. And all kinds of things are costing us more money. And the tenant feels that pinch, and when he doesn't have enough money to pay for his groceries, to pay for his gas, and pay for his rent, guess what? The rent's going to be the one that's affected. And it's so easy. I've got a tenant, and a great tenant, I'm real happy with him. I'm not going to evict him. We work it out. But last month, he wasn't able to pay the full rent because he had car problems. And the month before that, he was in the middle of changing jobs, and there was a delay in his pay. And the person who doesn't get paid is the landlord. People are always going to not pay where they can get away with the most. And with the Residential Tenancy Act, they know that they can get away with not paying their rent. And in fact, we had one where it was involved in a real estate sale, and the Residential Tenancy Board told the tenant, listen, you don't have to move. It's going to take them months to evict you. So you've got the cost of living, you've got the problem of the Residential Tenancies Act, you've got the equity soaring and increasing, and then along comes a bad tenant, and that's kind of the tip of the iceberg, and the person decides, I'm going to get rid of it, and so they get rid of the tooth. I'm suggesting, don't pull the tooth, have a root canal, have a crown put on your tooth, and enjoy being able to chew on that side of your mouth for a lot of years to come. The look was regained, and the use is regained, and the pain has stopped. And I'm saying the same thing with the property situation if you have a bad tenant. You'll be able to get rid of that tenant. Oh, it'll be a bumpy road, but you'll be able to get rid of that tenant. You'll be able to replace that tenant with a good tenant, and you'll continue on, and now the pain has stopped, and you still have the property. Instead of having a story to tell the grandkids, you'll have equity to retire on one day, and that's what the plan's all about. I want to thank you very much for investing your time in this video. I'll talk to you again next week.